It's one thing to know that you have to change something and that something's not working for you. And it's a completely other thing to know where I'm going. Like, how does it even look like to step into a new way of being in relationship, for example, when all you've known is perhaps, dynamics of codependency. You might know conflict is a way to resolve problems. Um, all these behaviors that we've been programmed to demonstrate in our relationships as normal, and they are normal. However, I don't believe they're natural. So, what does it mean when we're in relationship in a way that's completely natural? What is a new consciousness? And actually, it's not a new consciousness of relationship, it's a natural consciousness of relationship. What does a relational process look like when we are in our presence, when we actually can be living from our divine presence in this world and we're not reacting, we are actually co creating? So that's what I'm going to talk about today. What does it look like? How do relationships change when that consciousness shifts? And I do believe we're at a time on our planet where we have the opportunity to really step into this alternative consciousness that is so much more fulfilling and rewarding, because the old consciousness has really not got us very far along the evolutionary path, right? That's not a judgment. So let's just go back for a second and have a look at the way many of us were taught to do relationship. Mostly, it was outsourcing our emotional needs. So I learned that if I wanted to be safe, feel secure, be loved, and have that sense of I'm good enough, I'm worthy, I'm of value, then I have to give certain things away. I have to give away my power. For example, I might give away my voice. I might show up as a person that I think I need to be in order that they stay happy with me. I might, if I've, the thing walking on eggshells, it's that sort of thing. I have to be something else because I know that they've got a feeling that they're not addressing. So somehow I've got to make that right. So a part of me was feeling responsible for others. A part of me might have been, like if something happened, I would never share what was going on. I would have this inner dialogue, and mostly it was what's wrong with me, or what do I need to do, or how can I fix this? I took it all in and often blamed myself for what was going on, and I'd be analysing it, but I would rarely share it. I would often just end up in these repeating cycles, and it wouldn't matter what I did to try and fix it, they would never end. It was almost like they were part of the establishment that I was in, even though I had all this new information on how to create a beautiful relationship. I understand that now because I was doing all of that fixing and healing and changing, but I was still operating from separation inside myself. I was still in a relational state that manifested out as separation and division. So it didn't really matter what I did. I was only ever going to create more of the same because of the foundations I was working from. So let's put that aside, and I will talk a lot more about codependent in other videos, and you can see already on my YouTube channel there's more information on that if you want to really find out about it. When we're in codependency and we are in the relationships that we have on the planet, most of us, we start from I want a relationship and it's very important that it lasts. And so my thinking is in the future. I have an outcome in mind and I'm attached to that outcome, which is I want to stay in this relationship. I want this relationship to be the best there ever is and I want it to work. So if my thinking is in the future, what do I have to do with my present moment so that I can get there? Like I've got a fixed point in the future, an intention, something that I need to get at, that I'm attached to, that I'm really, really invested in. And so my future has to be manipulated, changed, controlled to make sure that it's everything that it needs to be in order for me to get there. So can you see how the version of us that's in the relationship is actually really not us? It's the version of us we have to be to reach that outcome. So what a relationship would look like in a different consciousness, and let's call it process consciousness or a co-creative consciousness or natural consciousness, actually, because I truly believe this is our natural way of being. Fundamentally, we don't, and this actually is not just to do with relationships, this is to do with everything. Fundamentally, we live from our divine presence. Now, the trick with that is we don't look ahead, and we might have an intention and we might have a dream and we might imagine where we want to be, but we don't attach and invest to a specific fixed state or fixed thing. What that means is we can actually meet this moment where it's at, and we can use this moment to move us forward. Now, the way and the reason that this consciousness is so fulfilling and so rewarding and so expansive and creates more harmony is because life works with us to move us along our path. We don't know the pathway. We don't know exactly where we're going. We do know that if we really make this moment the most connected, beautifully loving, aware, sensitive moment we can possibly make it, then the next moment is going to be even better, right? If we can really focus on this moment, it's almost like I need to take this step so that life can show me the next step on the pathway. And when I'm with a partner, how can we both come into this moment and just lean into whatever's happening, even if it's conflict, even if it's hurt, even if it's pain? He comes home late and, and I might be, where are you? It's like, okay, well, hang on a minute. What's happening in this moment? It's not about him coming home late. It's about, I have something inside of myself that needs healing. Otherwise, I would not be in emotional reaction right now, and I would not be projecting that emotional reaction out at him. What is it in me that needs to heal? Am I insecure? Do I have not good enough? Do I have all of these feelings that I haven't dealt with that are currently projecting out and creating a situation where my partner is coming home late, giving me the opportunity to have a look at exactly what's in the way of me being present right now? Can I deal with that? Can I share that with them? Can I use this as an opportunity? Now, let me just say here that you may not be able to create this consciousness with all people. That's just how it is. I'm really sad to say that. It's just how it is. But what's happening with whoever you are at is you're getting the opportunity to practice living in your own presence. You're getting the opportunity to reclaim your power from areas where you were not empowered at all and you felt powerless. If they remain in those dynamics of victim, persecutor, rescuer, and that's often the dynamics that create codependency. Well, it is actually the dynamics of codependency. But when you're with a person that cannot be with you in presence, that they are reactive, that they are, "Oh, always blame me, it's all my fault," that sort of thing, all of that is just a way that they avoid taking responsibility for their own feelings. Now, unless they want to take responsibility for their feelings and actually join you in this co-creative process, which really feels so much better, you can't do much about it. But you can keep changing you, because the more you change you, the more the dynamics cease, actually. And that's another factor that happens when you step into a new consciousness of relationship. So let me get clear on what you might expect when you start to change and become more present. And it's like you're not connected to your divine presence. You actually are the divine presence that is in you. You feel a feeling of wholeness. You feel a feeling of inner knowing. You have access to your intuition, like this incredible intuitive power. You feel really strong. You feel unshakable. And at the same time, you're dynamic and you can flow with whatever's happening, knowing that this is part of the path that's being created for you to walk on so that you can actually, fully express yourself, like 100% self-expression on this planet for the joy of your own self, not for any other purpose. So when you're in this state of being, and Oh, now I need to do another video on how you actually get to that state of being. So that's going to come up next. But now let's just talk about relationships. What relationships look like when in my mind I have let go of the fact that this relationship has to last, and I have stopped investing in its longevity and its perfection or its need to be there, and I've thrown that out and I've gone, instead I'm going to stay as present as I can, and I am going to simply make this moment the best moment I can. I start to talk about how I feel. I start to say things like, "Oh wow, when you do that, it landed on me as a feeling," and I'm noticing my whole body tightened up then. And so for me, there's some sort of reaction going on here where I feel unsafe. And you're having this discussion with your partner, not because you want them to fix you or even do anything about it, but they're witnessing you. Having someone witness and accompany you when you speak of your feelings actually helps dissolve your feelings. It is so powerful to be accompanied because you feel safe. So that's the first thing. I start to actually express myself in a way that I'm owning my feelings. I'm not dumping or blaming anybody else. Now, I'm not saying that other people don't do things that might activate me. However, my first thing I always do is come back in and go, what is it in me that has a reaction to this? What is it that I need to take responsibility for? Where did I put myself in a position to be hurt? Where did I not speak up when I should have? So these are the things that I'm constantly thinking about so that I can really own more of my personal power while I'm living in this body on this planet. So I speak up. The second thing is I start to notice that the state of being I'm in creates a feeling of harmony. Now, this is not just the word harmony. There is a tangible frequency of harmony that starts to happen in all of my relationships and my environment. Now, this is an incredible power when you think about how life is at the moment out on the planet. So, another thing that you might notice when you come into this new form of relationship, or not new, natural way of relationship, is feeling like this. It's almost like this sense, this tangible frequency of harmony that just starts to, you can feel it, it just arises, and it feels really, really nice. It feels really, really calm. It feels really, really nourishing. And so you feel a sense of emotional safety. Now, that's the third thing that I've noticed with this alternative form of relationship. And like even the word relationship, I'd like to start to think about us changing that because it's really more of a relational process. It's not a fixed, solid thing that we do. There are no dynamics. So, victim, persecutor, rescuer, I only need to save someone when I have a requirement that they be something other than that they are. I only need to persecute someone when I'm holding them responsible for how I'm feeling. I only need to feel powerless and be a victim when I think that I have no power over my circumstance, when I'm holding other people responsible for the way I feel. All of those things are a creation of the mind and they're not actually true. What they do is they separate you from your power. If I'm a victim, I'm separated from my power. Now, I may be a victim of a circumstance, but I am not powerless in this situation because I have access to the greatest power there is, which is my divine presence. How could I possibly be powerless? I don't have to be angry at them. Why would what they do even bother me? Because it's actually their issue. It's got nothing to do with me. When I can sit in my divine presence again, I'm already whole. I don't need them to be anything other than they are so that I feel okay, because I already feel okay. Rescuing people. Now, this is, when you think about being a mum and you're always, I was anyway in the past, trying to fix your kids and make things right. And it's like, well, why? If I am in flow in this moment, in this beautiful moment of presence, and if the divine intelligence of life is working with me and through me and as me, it's also working through my child, as my child, and for my child. So why am I trying to control that? Why am I trying to make that something that it isn't? In this moment, something is happening with my child that is bringing our awareness to an opportunity to grow and become more connected. When I try to control or resist or fix, what do? I actually just totally shove a great big roadblock in the way. That's an incredibly challenging lesson to learn as a mum. However, I can tell you, when I did that, when I completely surrendered into that moment and when all I have to do is be here with you right now and walk this journey and see what happens next, life actually resolved the problem for me so much better than what I could. So this is the same as your relationships. So in this version of relationship, when you're with them, you're not trying to control anything that they're doing. And if you are, you're paying attention, well, why is it that I feel a need to control? Now, this could be you going, oh, there's something wrong with me, I'm needy. Okay, let's have a look at that. If I'm needy, what is that emotional need that I'm not meeting myself? Because remember, in order for us to be wholly in our divine presence, in the presence of all that we are right now, we want to be meeting these big voids that we have inside, which are feeling, where we feel a feeling is missing, and where we are actually making someone else outside of us responsible for meeting that need. If I can do that, and let's just think about this, right? If you've got an empty cup and it's empty and it feels empty and it feels like, it's a void, it's like there's nothing in it, right? And it's maybe, let's call it the love cup, and it's nothing in it, it feels empty. I can run around all the time trying to get someone to fill it, but hey, that cup is inside of me, right? So they can't get in there and fill that up. I might have a momentarily fleeting feeling of being loved, but it doesn't last, right? Next thing you know, you're being needy and you're trying to manipulate situations. And again, but doesn't it make sense to you that if I'm missing love, if there's a space in me where I perceive love is not, then surely if I could generate a feeling of love in my body, that hole where love was sort of disappears. It starts to fill up with love. Think about it like this. If I'm feeling unsupported, and I used to do this all the time, right? Like many years ago, blaming everybody because I'm so unsupported. Nobody picks up this stuff. I've got to do everything. Look at me doing all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. I feel unsupported. So there's a place in me where support is missing. Now, I could have 1,000 people trying to support me, and I often see this, all these people trying to support a person that feels unsupported, and yet they don't really feel supported unless they can feel it in their body. So I noticed if I feel unsupported, the best thing I can do is go and support somebody, give my support to somebody, because as I'm supporting them, I'm feeling support generate in my body. I'm having the feeling of support in my body, which actually fills up the hole where support wasn't. And all of a sudden, I bring myself back to this wholeness, this state of feeling oneness again, calm, full, however you want to describe it, in my own presence. So when I'm in an alternative relationship, I am co-creating with this human. We are co-creating in a way that we are both being influenced by the divine intelligence of life and the presence within us to move into more love and more harmony all the time. It's an expanding process. And so when there is tension, it's something we lean into, knowing that the purpose of this is to create more expansion and love and harmony and emotional intimacy, which leads to sexual intimacy. That's what's actually happening. And so when I lean in, because I'm not in that victim, persecutor, rescuer, I'm not feeling powerless because I know that this has a purpose, there's an opportunity here for me, and I actually know I have all the resources I need to deal with this feeling, including communication and a supportive partner. I can lean in, and so I'm creating more connection over time. Remember, in the old way of being in relationship, when we feel something, we create conflict, tension, we blame them, and we hold resentments. We could hold resentments for years. So that anger can spurt out at any time and be putting people down, people we love. Like we remember things, and when we can, we use that to prod them. It's like, why are we doing that? We're actually creating more conflict and more stuff that's in the way of the love and harmony that we can create together. So this form of relationship, it's actually like we're not holding them responsible for our feelings, but we are appreciating the fact that they're here to help us grow in our feelings and them too. And we're learning about each other, and we're not holding back. Like if there's something that I need that I'm not getting, I might share that. If I perceive a need, we might talk about that. But everything is done with the intention of love is not currency anymore. In the old way, love was currency. We would trade it, right? When I got angry, I would withdraw my love. But in this alternative relationship, this relational process, love is already given. We already feel the love that we are because we are whole. We've done this work to bring ourselves back into wholeness, to step out of reaction and come and actually sit in our own divine presence. Love is already there. There's no scarcity. So we don't have to trade it anymore. It's not a risk. It is. So can you imagine like how free you are now? Because love already is. So now you can play. Now you can fully express yourself. Now you can grow. Now you can go on this incredible adventure of getting to know this human without any attachments to whether or not they hang out forever. And in fact, that's a really great way to start a relationship. It's like, let's get to know each other. Let's spend 6 months, because that's probably as long as it's going to take for their personality to come out. If they are hiding something, if they're not aware of things, if their motive is not from love, if they aren't able to meet you in this place, give yourself the time to discover that. Don't keep trying to make something work that isn't working, because again, you're resisting what is. So all of this takes trust of the divine intelligence to actually want the best for you, which I've noticed in my life it does, and that shows up for me. But trust of yourself also. So this is very much a self-loving path. It really grows and expands the amount of love that I have for myself, which then influences the amount of love I can share with others. It's self-respecting. It's self-caring. It's self-nourishing. It's self-revering. And not in a selfish way, but I'm making my divine presence the priority always. I noticed in my past relationships, when I got into a relationship, all of a sudden I was sort of on their path. I was sort of putting my things, lower down the list of priorities. I was sort of taking on what they wanted to do, and I sort of let go, dropped the ball a little bit on where I was going and my purpose and my passion. I dropped the ball a little bit on my friendships. All of these things are us putting ourselves in a more vulnerable position, because the program is, the wounded child in me was coming out and wanting to be rescued and loved and saved and secure forever. Like that was the way I was programmed to feel safe. So moving all those other influences aside meant that I was here fully for that person so they would feel loved, so that they would then love me and we would be safe. The foundations of that rarely lead to long-term happiness and maybe even successful relationships. In my instance, that was certainly the case. So if I can remember that my divine presence, that is my purpose. When I go out in the world, what I bring to the world is the consciousness that I am, is this the value of who I am. And if I can make that a priority, I want that to expand. I want that to be amplified all the time, because It is natural. It is my natural state. And so in these relationships that we are moving into now, this is the shift in the relational process. It's coming back to this inner world that we have and how we bring that into union with another presence. And when we look at it like that, it can be incredibly expansive. There's this unlimited capacity to love and unlimited capacity to stay in this honeymoon period because you don't develop any resentments. Everything is dealt with straight away. You're preventing things from happening that may create an issue. I guess the biggest thing is to know if you feel like a victim, like you're angry, like you're rescuing, know that you've separated yourself from your presence and you need to do some work to come back into your wholeness. Understand that the relational process you're in, focus on this moment and make that the best you can possibly make it. Also know that you don't have to accept unacceptable behavior. There might be a time that you're going, is this me? Do your work. Is this you? What is it that I'm reacting to it? What part of me doesn't like this? What is that in me? But when you can come back in your divine presence, if you still feel something is not right, then it's not right. Anything that is natural feels right. It's natural, right? Like, things that are natural feel good, right? You don't even have to think about things that are natural. They're just natural. That is the same with your relationship. If it feels natural, if you have a sense of freedom, if you feel expansive in your body, then, apart from, you're going to grow. But if you're feeling all those things, then you know that you're working together. If something's not right and it keeps coming up, then maybe it's time to really look at that. Again, you are your priority. You are your purpose. When you can trust that, which might mean changing relationships, it might mean putting yourself in a situation that you don't want to be with for a while. But that is self-love, right? That is self-love. And I truly believe, and this is the clincher, right? Our world at the moment is quite chaotic and harmony is really missing. In order for us to reharmonize this world and to create a sense of peace and love, which is the natural essence of who each of us is, in order for us to do that, we could come together with another person who is whole, that is also ready to do that. Those two people coming together create an amplified consciousness in the field, like this incredibly harmonic resonance. So if you can imagine that the natural process of life, it wants to bring us together with that perfect person that will enable us to create that harmonic frequency. If we settle for something that doesn't feel right because we're frightened of being alone when we're old, or we're frightened that we're not good enough, then we are actually disrupting the natural flow of this harmonic resonance from really starting to gain ground on this planet. And we benefit from that. Like, there's a feeling that comes with that. It is so much better. So if I can encourage you to trust, if I can encourage you to love yourself, if I can encourage you just to stay present in this moment and think about, how can I make this the most connected, loving moment? Because these relationships become emotionally safe relationships. Emotional safety happens when there's no withdrawal and exchange of love. They happen when there's no walking on eggshells. You know how that person is going to show up, that the love is given, right? So you always feel emotionally safe to be you. And the intimacy just deepens. The sexual experience becomes blissful. Like, there are so many benefits. So I hope that this may have shone a bit of a light on what we can look forward to by actually taking full responsibility of our emotional needs and being brave enough to step into an alternative paradigm of relationships. I would love to hear what you think about this. Please comment, subscribe, and like this video and share it with your friends, because we want really to start to move this world into greater harmony. Sending you love.